to have written this chapter with my partner in crime in my entire career life, Christi Zuber. We've been together for 10 years now. Craziness. We actually co-locate in the same office, and yeah, it's longer than most relationships I've had.
You're me, kid.
All right. So with that, this is chapter 2, Math for Method.
All right. Great. So chapter 2, Math for Method. This is really a foundational chapter that the focus is around methods for innovation and how those things can be applied within health information technology. So that's what we're going to talk about when we go through our slides about what our chapter is. So really when you talk about methods and innovation, we can't do that without giving a tip of the hat to our team, which are all here. And it's a very diverse team coming from many different areas. And I think it's that diversity and the diversity of our experiences and the methods that we bring in that really bring in this robustness into innovation that have helped to sort of formulate the different things that we've been able to work on. There are many different techniques, many different approaches. Some of these might be things that you're familiar with. Some of them might not be things that you're familiar with. But when you look through all of them, they help you to explore, they help you to be more creative. But at the foundational element, they all have something in common. And that something in common really is around PDSA. So it's Plan, Do, Study, Act, for those of you that aren't as familiar with it as others. And that's really the foundational element of many of these things. It's really how you start to learn successes and failures within your organization when you're trying to try out new things. Is it working? Is there evidence behind it? So when you talk about PDSA, all of these kinds of innovations and these things sort of flow into it very nicely, like the end of the rainbow. So all of these different methods culminate into being able to try something out, because that's really where you start to learn, is this something that's really is it of value within the organization where you work? So when we talk about that, we've sort of married innovation and improvement together. So this is our methodology that you see behind us. So this methodology really has 3 components that we'll focus on today. So inspire, ideate, and impact. And we'll go through each one of those, but basically this methodology has paired together the art of innovation and the science of improvement. And so those are the things that we'll talk a little bit about today. With the EMR, it's kind of in front of me. So, for those of you that don't know, you keep your friends close, your enemies closer. The EMR is a little bit in that gray space of really, is it a friend of ours or really is it an enemy of ours? It's a little bit of a complex kind of relationship. So when you think about it sort of from the enemy side of things, it really locks down a lot of processes. When you put an EMR in, you've got to have something that's very structured and very tangible so that you can actually code to it. So from that standpoint, it's a bit of an enemy. It takes some creativity to try to jailbreak out of making this EMR a little bit more of your friend. From the standpoint of it being your friend, when you think about, in this picture you can see lots of different documents kind of scattered across the table. We have many years of, really trying to gather information, really trying to see, does this make an impact or not? Going through reams of data, well, the EMR actually allows you to do that in a split second. From that standpoint, it's really a friend of ours. So when we talk about the methodology, we use the EMR actually in many different phases of the methodology. So from the inspire phase, we do a lot of qualitative exploration, but the EMR also allows us to bring in that quantitative piece of things of, what's really happening in the record? Can we pull vast amounts of data together to really understand what's occurring? What are the patterns? What are the themes? Then there's ideate. It helps us actually to generate ideas if you can be clever enough to develop this in a sandbox. And many of the organizations here tonight have done that. They've created sandboxes to where you can actually try out ideas, try out new workflows, try out different approaches without actually disrupting a live medical record. And then of course there's what we all know about, so this is more of the impact. So the impact is really where the rubber meets the road, where you can pull the data together from the EMR and say, within a very short amount of time, is this really making an impact or not? And you can do it repeatedly in ways that you just couldn't do it when you had to rely on paperwork. So that kind of highlights some of the methodologies, and what I want to do now is pass it off to Chris to talk about a case study.
Right, so I'm going to give you a brief case study on how information technology and innovation can work together. This is an innovation called KP Painscape that we developed a few years ago. It's how nurses and patients can work together in a hospital to better manage pain. Now there's many components on what drives KP Painscape, but there's one specific piece that I want to focus in on, which is this bottom one on reassessing a timely medication pass. So when nurses pass medications, it's really good practice, and in fact required, that they do a reassessment. And somebody had this great idea, is what if we had reassessment timers so that we could go back to the patient on time and see how they're doing? And well, lo and behold, changing your EMR is really hard to do. And so we had to figure out a way, how could we test this idea? And so we have the egg timer, a very, very simple, low technology that helped us better understand a very simple idea around reassessing medications. That gave us the confidence. We saw the reassessment rates getting better and better, our nurses getting better and better at doing it. It gave our organization the confidence to put this as a requirement in a future release of our EMR in our system. So in a future release at Kaiser Permanente, we will have reassessments built into our EMR. So there are 3 lessons that we learned from this. One is that we actually have to learn how to think smaller with technology. I think a lot of us get overwhelmed by the magnitude of these technologies. Epic system is huge, but there's ways of taming it through simple things like an egg timer. The second one is around forcing alternatives. One thing that we often get caught up in is the idea. I have a great idea, but what you really need is many ideas that could solve that problem. So for reassessments, not only do we have egg timers, which built confidence, we built even more confidence by using iTouches from Apple. We program multiple timers, not just one egg timer, but multiple. And the third is automating measures. If you have an EHR, you should build in your automated measures so you can understand the impact of your innovations. And we spent a little upfront time so that we could have much quicker in-between time getting that data to prove that what we're doing was useful. So I'm going to end my pitch by saying, what is your egg timer in your system? Thank you.